You know, yesterday we were talking about the last Cub to have played in the World Series passing away. Thankfully, you know, the Warriors who were in it 40 years ago are still with us. And one of them, I mean, this guy's pretty well known, Rick Barry. Morning, Rick. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Hey, John, how are you?
I'm doing well, Rick. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing awesome.
Still doing well.
Happy to get up every day.
Well, listen, you know, I mean, did you think it would be 40 years? Look, just the law of averages says things couldn't have possibly gone on that long before the team got back to the finals.
Well, I mean, if you don't pick the right player, John will tell you that. I mean, John was a great coach, but he would have never been any good if he didn't have good players. You can't win without good players, and the Warriors have done a great job in their choices. I always say there's three things that are critical for any team sport to be successful. Who do you pick in the draft? Who do you get in trades? Who do you pick up in free agency? Those are the three most important things because talent is what wins for you, and then a good coach utilizes that talent in the most effective way possible.
Rick, as you look at this Warrior team and you're talking about, you know, drafting and accumulating good players, who are those players you're talking about in some kind of order in your mind?
Well, obviously, you know, making the choice to go ahead and go for Steph Curry was great, and then realizing that, you know, you had another guard back there that wasn't going to work for the two of them to be playing, and that's Monte Ellis, and he made that trade that the owner got booed for at Chris Mullins' jersey retirement, which is ridiculous. That was smart, and then they picked up guys like Klay Thompson, and they picked up Draymond Green. And, I mean, they have just made the right moves, and then they picked up some experienced players. And, John, you can probably appreciate this, to have veteran players, two all-star players. Like on our team, we had Jeff Mullins and Bill Bridges, and both of those guys were willing to accept subservient roles and be coming off the bench to help us to achieve our goal of winning a championship. They have Andre Iguodala and they've got David Lee who are willing to do the same thing. Those are important elements to a team's success because the team, you can't win in basketball with one player. Just like in football, you can't win with just a great offense. You got to have other people to do the job. And the Warriors have done that. They've got a team that goes deep, John. They play 11 guys, 10 minutes or more. Most teams don't do that.
That's kind of reminiscent of a 74-75 Warriors team. You guys ran a lot of guys out there, and through the course of that season, if memory serves, the minutes from the bench may have been the highest in the league.
Well, it was, without question. It's one of the things I talked about. I think it was in yesterday's San Francisco Examiner, the column that I'm writing, talking about the comparison between the two teams. It's pretty remarkable. You know, I mean, you start looking at the rebounds and the two-headed center. Of course, you know, Marquise is not playing because he's hurt, but the numbers are amazing. The scoring between Jamal Wilkes and myself, it was within a point or so of what Curry and Thompson are doing. So there's just a lot of similarities going deep and making a commitment to defense. I mean, I'm a big believer that you have to be a good defensive team to win a championship in any sport that you're playing in, but you also have to be good offensively. The Warriors are good in both areas.
Hey, when does that start, Rick, in the season? It seems like to me in the regular season, defense isn't mentioned a lot, although the Warriors did play pretty good defense all year. But is there something like, you know, the closer you get to the end, the closer you get to the playoffs, then when you get into the playoffs, they always say the intensity rises. Does the intensity on defense rise specifically?
Well, I think that it's from the start of the season. You have to make the commitment from the beginning of the season so that you really believe in yourself when you get to the opportunity to play in the playoffs. The difference that happens in the playoffs, and I don't know what it's like in football, John, but I'm appalled by what the NBA allows to happen in the playoffs. They allow the game to become overly physical. I mean, if you really watch the game closely and see what's happening off the ball and guys grabbing guys and hitting guys and banging guys, it doesn't take skill and talent and ability to do that. So what they've done by allowing that to happen is they give an advantage to the less skilled player. And from firsthand experience, I can assure you, the great players have to elevate their game in the playoffs. You're not going to be as effective if you are not prepared to accept the extra physical aspect of the game. That's what I was concerned about the Warriors, but they've put that to rest. They've dealt with it exceptionally well. But I think it's a disservice to the game when they let all of that physical play take place in the game of basketball.
Hey, one question, Rick. What's your pick? I know you're going with the Warriors, but how long do you think the series will go?
Well, 5 or 6. I mean, if the Warriors play the way they're capable of playing, they'll win in 5 or 6 games. They're a better basketball team than the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, saying it's one thing, but they have to go out there and do it. They have a tendency to turn the ball over. They have a tendency at times to not play defense at the level that they are capable of playing. And then sometimes they don't shoot it well. That's what happened against Memphis when they shot 26% from threes. They turned the ball over. They didn't play tough defense, and they lost 2 basketball games. but they can overcome the turning the ball over and shooting poorly for short periods of time if they play defense, which is what happened in Game 5 against Houston. They shot terribly in the first quarter. They turned the ball over, but their defense kept them in the game until the offense got going. And that's the beauty of this team. Plus, other people can step up. Steph didn't shoot well in Game 5. Clay was playing well, then got hit and then was out of the game with the concussion. And who steps up? Harrison Barnes comes and gets 9 points in 2 minutes and blows the game open in the fourth quarter, and the game is history.
Rick, thanks so much for taking the time this morning. That's the all-time Warriors great Rick Barry with us. And, John, a guy who's been there. You got to know he knows what he's talking about.
Well, he has, and it brought back good memories because, you think of 40 years in the Warriors, but at that same time, the Raiders won the Super Bowl and the A's won the World Series.
Yeah, that was a pretty good time for the East Bay.
That was a pretty good time to be an Oaklander.
Indeed. All right.